terror attack in London, now raising big questions for Americans about whether President Trump's extreme vetting and travel ban order might be a good idea after all.
ISIS now claiming responsibility for the deadly terror attack in London. We now know that a Utah man is among the 3 victims. His wife was also seriously injured. They were in Europe celebrating their 25th wedding anniversary. The suspect, now identified as 52-year-old Khalid Massoud, was shot dead by officers on the scene. At least 8 others have been arrested in ongoing counterterrorism raids. British Prime Minister Theresa May revealed that the attacker was British-born and had been investigated several years ago for violent extremism. All of this is raising big questions for Americans as the courts weigh President Trump's extreme vetting and travel ban executive order. Nigel Farage, the architect of the UK's Brexit, weighing in on Hannity last night. Watch.
The problem with multiculturalism is that it leads to divided communities. It's quite different to multiracialism. That's fine. That can work very happily and extremely well. But we finished up with very divided communities. And I'm sorry to say, but we have now a 5th column living inside these European countries. And surely an American audience seeing this horrendous thing happening in Westminster today should start to say to itself that when Donald Trump tries to put in place vetting measures, he's doing it to protect your country.
You know, Pete, you and I are pretty well aligned when it comes to all things national security related. What do you think of what Nigel Farage just said?
I think he's right. I think that's what you see in the reaction amongst those countries. It takes some forms of populism, of Brexit and others, but there has been a silent invasion in a lot of these communities of people who are not showing allegiance to that country or assimilating. I mean, the most popular boy's name of a newborn child in London today, 3 times over, is Muhammad. They're having lots of kids, and it's changing the demographics of that country. That's fine if you know that there's an allegiance to what the UK has always represented, of course. And unfortunately, this guy's British-born, but motivated by an ideology that is at war with Western society and the UK. The fact that he's a known extremist and is there is the problem. Why was he not booted out right away? If you're at war and your enemy is amongst you, you need to get rid of them. And I think things like this, unfortunately, finally wake people up to the reality of how vicious this threat is.
That's what's so disturbing is so often we find out that they were on the radar of the government. This happens here, this happened there.
The Orlando shooter.
He had been investigated years ago.
But I don't know how you boot people out of your country who were born in your country and you.
Well, if you're at war with an enemy and they declare allegiance to that enemy, then they're no longer a citizen of your country.
And so you would do that in the United States.
Of course. I mean,
listen, I'm with Pete on this.
Then you're a traitor. How can you live with an enemy inside your midst if they're seeking to do harm to you? Now, where that line is in a free society is always going to be the discussion and the debate. Marie and I will probably have a difference of opinion on where that line is. But if you understand that, if you've got radical mosques inside the UK where hatred is being preached, why are those mosques open? Those are effectively propaganda for your enemy. We just have to be honest about this.
It's a fascinating thing that you say. So then we saw another attempt of driving down a VOA today in Belgium, less than 24 hours later, right after they had held their moment of silence in solidarity with London today.
Turns out the Islamists not in solidarity.
Can you even imagine? Then they potentially foil one that could have happened there. They made an arrest. But we know what's happening in Belgium. You've got that Molenbeek neighborhood,
of course,
where you've got people who have declared, as you say, their allegiance to ISIS and many others. I hadn't posited that point, but it's interesting.
Yeah, why are they a citizen of a free country when they want to destroy that country?
So you presented your case, and you suggested Marie would have something completely the opposite to say. Marie.
Well, let's take this to how we protect America, though, because that's what matters most to all of us. Donald Trump's travel ban, would not have impacted this person because he's a British citizen. So I think when you heard a lot of people, especially even security experts on the Republican and Democratic side, saying they picked these countries, but there's a lot of people who are dangerous who aren't from these countries. The country isn't always indicative of whether they want to commit an act of terrorism. If he was indeed on the radar of British intelligence or British security, if he had tried to come to the U.S., that probably would have popped up when he went to board a flight. So I agree with you that we need to talk about how to keep our country safe. I think what's concerning to so many of us in the security world is that how Donald Trump, with this travel ban, some of the things he's done seems to be attacking what a caricature of the problem and not actually
see, what was so much more concerning for 7 years is the way the Obama administration refused to ever talk about it.
Wouldn't say Islamic extremism.
I'm not saying this just to, it's not just ISIS doesn't want jobs. ISIS wants to destroy the West. And that's not a jab, and it is what it is. Until we understand that, Europe is a 50-year preview of where we could be. And the refugee vetting and everything it's just one part of it. I'm from Minneapolis, where there's a large Somali Muslim population that hasn't assimilated in the first or second generation the way that it should. It manifests itself in allegiance for ISIS and some radical mosques. That's a real problem. And until we address that honestly, we're never going to get at it.
Well,